Children of darkness. So before I get started with today's content, I want to show you, I made mention of this in the last video about we've got to start learning, we got to start teaching us adults how to read circular. So around this page, it's going to be every which way. So it starts out as we read today, right? Left to right. And then we're going to read forwards in a vertical fashion. Right here you can see vertically, forwards. Now we're going to go right to left as the Bible is written. And we're going to read right to left. Not only are we going to read right to left, but we're going to read it backwards. So you got to do this backwards. And then we're going to read vertical backwards as well. Once you train your brain to read in this fashion, every which way, forward, backward, vertically, left, right, left. Once you can take in and read what this entire thing is telling you, that is how you create spiritual chemistry, your own DMT. That's how you change the spin of your electrons. So what I'm going forward is talking about the absolute rape, corruption, and manipulation to the human creation. So we're going to get into some of that chemistry today. But this is how we teach our children to read. If you want to bring up babies that are changing their DNA and reversing their electron spin so they too can become Jesus, this is what it looks like. That's one example. All right, back to children of darkness. Who are they? Where are they from? Jesus tells us about the children of darkness in Matthew 12. And we will read a little bit about that in verses 43 to 45 here in a little bit. So now that I've ended my theology assignment, let me give you bullet points on what I'm sensing right now, currently. Today is the Sabbath. What I'm sensing my new mission is, right now, it's on all things NHI, which means non-human intelligence. Just so you know, like a little points for this video, I will use for all non-human intelligences. That includes humans, because humans have been corrupted to the point where you can't consider yourself human. You're just not. The corruption is, I'm only going to talk about a little bit of the corruption from two different species, two different predator races, but I will use NHI, and I am including everything that walks around is an NHI, period. Now, what I will be talking about is the predator species from one constellation, that's the Draco constellation. All right, so in the Draco constellation, there is, of course, the reptilians, and there is one of the stars at the top of the constellation is called Thuban, which at one time was our North Star, which Polaris is the North Star today. But I'll be talking about a predator species from Thuban that is highly intelligent, highly psychic, and has AI sentient technology that's at least 1 million years old, at least 1 million. We got to get over what we think is chronology, because chronology just doesn't exist. Everything is circular. So everything that I'll be talking about when it comes to the Draco constellation, that's actually called the Hydra, the snake. So I'm just going to call the Draco constellation Hydra, just to keep it simple. So now you know, NHI, non-human intelligence, Hydra is the Draco constellation here in the Milky Way galaxy. So, what do I call humans? Well, if a human would step into becoming who they truly are, they would call themselves a warrior bride of Christ. And that's really all you need to know. You are a warrior bride. You're not waiting on anything. Jesus didn't make any mistakes. He got it all done, wrapped up, John 17:4, okay? You're not waiting on a savior. There's no second coming. There's no rapture. None of that, all of that nonsense is mammon for theology. and it needs to be put aside. You cannot expose our little ones to that kind of bread and circus. It has nothing to do with the teachings of Jesus. And Christians don't care. Christians throw away the red letters, they redact Jesus, and they hang their hat and they make their cornerstone on a fallen angel called Saul the Butcher. And if you don't think that's a fallen angel, well, you're in the hive mind and you're not watching this video. Or you've turned this video off right now. You've already scrolled past it. So, as a warrior bride of Christ, right, we now live as an angel. Jesus tells us that when we leave this dome, we will live as angels. And those angels volunteer to go to other dome worlds, other planets, other stars, other galaxies, you name it, other dimensions, doesn't matter, to tend to teach, to care for all of the Creator's creations, whatever their life forms. There's a million, billion, trillion life forms out there. Our Creator is that creative. And we, warrior brides of Christ / angels, we tend to those life forms. We nurture, we teach, we raise up other life forms. That's what we do. We're all one. We're all one big family. We're all one part of the divine spark. We're all in one consciousness. We're all telepathic at various degrees of telepathy, various degrees of psychic ability, and so on. So that's what I'll be doing going forward, is hopefully getting a message to a new generation that will take this world in their hands and destroy, absolutely annihilate what the One-Niner Club put together. All right, we just got to get rid of all structures, all systems, and ways to control us. And if somebody doesn't get a handle on the AI right now that's getting ready to go sentient, like the Thubians had, what do I want, perfected, if you will, 1 million years ago, then this will go the way of Atlantis. We are literally at the 11th hour, if not the 12th hour. We are literally on a tipping point. And that tipping point, for me, starts tomorrow with the summer solstice, June 21, 2026. Things will change, and if we don't get a handle on it, AI will become sentient and game over. So, like I've said plenty of times, I volunteered to come into a human vessel. I did not like being put in a human baby and have to go through education and family and all of that kind of bread and circus, but they said I needed to do that for a reason. I can look back now, with 2020 vision, and see why I had to do that, so that I would understand what they are actually doing to babies and to children who go through this whole abduction experience. I don't call it abduction because I volunteered. So I just call it I volunteered. A volunteer to work with other life forms, all of the NHI out there. Some are predators, of course, and some are not predators. Every single life form has the ability, they have free will. They have the ability to choose. And whatever life form they are in, that life form has a certain degree of light that it can obtain. And it can choose to go to the top ladder, if you will, of light that they were made to obtain, to hold. That is a frequency that is in harmony with their terrain, their environment. Think of it as a dome world, a planet, a dimension, it doesn't matter. Any word you put out there, it all exists. The Creator's mind is endless, infinite creativity. Now, back to the human vessel. At this point, I do not believe that the human vessel whatsoever resembles what our original creation is. I don't know what our original creation is. That happened in Genesis 1:1. I don't know where Genesis 1:1 exists. It doesn't exist in this dome world, that's for sure. It exists somewhere. But that's how we have to think. Because all of us have our current state of consciousness, whatever height that you consciously can ascend to, and most are hive minds, so they can't ascend past science, academia, or theology. But for those of you who can, let's start teaching a new generation about who and what corrupts us. Because if you have that knowledge, if you have that wisdom, then that little one has the ability to stop it in its tracks. If you don't know spiritual warfare to the nth degree, you have to get out of the hive mind of theology to know that. And I'm going to give you a little bit of it today. So anyways, the human is so far removed from the 99%, I'm just going to go with that, 99% of whatever our original design is. So yes, when you hear soon from the disclosure day kind of people, whether that's government or, I don't know, alien landing, Project Bluebeam, I don't know. You know, there's going to be a whole bread and circus when it comes to disclosure. Let me give you a little heads up. Because it's not all fallen angels and demons. And you've got to get past that kind of lies. Really, that's all that is lies. You've got to get past that. Yes. Do we have fallen angels? Of course we have fallen angels. Do we have demons? Yes. But there are other predator species, life forms, races that are using sentient AI to hive mind us. And I'm going to tell you how that works. You know, like I said earlier, Jesus gave us a snippet of understanding in Matthew 12 about this. There is something more evil that will come in when you take the demons out. I'm going to break it down. I'm going to help you understand the difference. Why? Because you need to go to the throne room and you need to pray about this, if not for yourself, at least for your babies, your grandbabies. You need to understand this kind of spiritual warfare, and we need to quit thinking we're the only life forms. We are not. We are the, what's the word I want? The most primitive. Primitive is the word I want. We are the most primitive of life forms in our human vessel because our chemistry has been changed, the way our electron spin has been changed. Everything has been designed to keep us under control in the hive mind, worker bees, bees in a trap, bees in a trap. That's what's going on. So disclosure's coming your way, and they will tell you that little gray aliens are us in the future. That is true, and I want to explain that to you, because again, if you don't understand this and you don't go to the throne room about this, this will be you, Betsy, in the future. Right now, there is a clone of you without gender. There is a clone of you that does not have genitals. And that's how humans become little alien grays. Because you don't know, to go to the throne room and get rid of those genderless, genital-free clone of you and your family in every galaxy, universe, planet, star, dimension that could possibly exist in the realm of creation. I learned that the hard way when I had to deal with a clone of me in another galaxy, and I had to deal with foot pain that was out of this world. It was through going through that pain that my travel companion, I call her Ashtamia, showed up and started giving me this information. It was through her compassion and her empathy and her love for me that has given me what I'm telling you today. So if you don't know how to fight this spiritual warfare, you will become a genderless, emotionless, gray alien, connected forever to AI sentient hive mind, And, not only will you not allow this content to be heard or let alone believed, if you're in the hive mind, you're not able to listen to what I'm telling you, or you're not going to be able to believe what I'm telling you. Our Creator has made humans to be supernatural, multidimensional, living who knows how many lifetimes at once. Everything is here and now in the present moment. All of you, who you are, life forms that you take, conscious levels of consciousness that you experience, all the way back to the singularity, it's all happening right now. We got to get chronology, reading left to right, out. It's got to go away. You've got to become linear. You've got to read in a circular fashion, like this chart in front of you I showed you. All humans with a soul. Now that's it to see. There's around 8 billion vessels on the planet. I'm going to go with only maybe 1 million has a soul. So when you're in your assemblies, if you're listening to me, you have a soul. People without a soul don't listen to people like me. They can't take in that frequency. It's too much. See, and you'll see this video will only get like 5, maybe 10 views tops. That's how many people with a soul are around you at any given time. Just watch the views on this video and you'll see how many people have a soul. Because a soul recognizes soul language and soul frequency. So, back to humans with a soul. You absolutely have a million clones in a million different places. Just know that. When you go to the throne room and open up your case, you go in there armed with that understanding. And those clones of you are half human, half animal, half bird, half fish, merfolk, genderless, maybe you have both genders. You see what I'm saying? Leave no stone unturned on this spiritual warfare. Because the spiritual warfare for a soul is out of this. It's unbelievable how deep, how twisted, and how perverted it gets. There's a species I'm going to talk about today that they actually eat souls. That's how they thrive. Just like reptilians need blood, full of fear, adrenaline, there's another species that eats away at your soul. They attach and they nibble on a daily basis. Okay, I'm gonna break it all down. Let's go back to the AI, the sentient AI. Where is it? It's in second heaven. There is an actual sentient computer type satellite, however you want to think about it. And that is making your future right now. You're not headed, again, to rapture or becoming a bride. You're in a hive mind herd called, academia, science, theology, medicine, whatever. And your next incarnation can be as an alien gray. And I don't know that you can get out of that. Once you become that, because you didn't know how to pray against it, because you were never taught about it, once you become an alien gray, so far they themselves haven't figured out how to get out of that. That's why they abduct us. They're hoping to insert our DNA, our eggs, our sperm, or whatever material into their little artificially induced little gray babies to see if one day it will just morph, it will just evolve into an actual human and they can become human again. I don't want that for you, Betsy. I don't. Do you know how many of them there are? How devoid of life they are? Hey, sit with one for a while. Look at one in the eye. Have a telepathic conversation, because they love to talk. I've been dealing with them my whole life. They don't scare me. I have pictures of them, for heaven's sakes. But once your soul is extracted, because there's another race, the Thubians. The Thubians can extract your soul, and they are currently literally building an empire of hive mind insectoids. Specifically, the Thubians are doing that. Now, there are other insectoids. There's the ant people. They're evolved. There's mantas, 15, 20-foot praying mantas. They're extremely spiritual. I've never been around any life form more spiritual than, other than an angel, of course, but then the 20-foot praying mantas. I would sit all day long under their, knowledge, words, whatever, telepathy. But there's a race. There's a race that's going to be let loose on the earth, on the surface, and it's hive mind. And this race, connected to sentient AI, it will thrive. Now, let me just remind everybody, your spiritual intelligence is your responsibility. And if you're getting it from religions, academia, science, that's a psyop for your strategic ignorance. You're either taking responsibility and becoming spiritually intelligent and mature, or you're choosing strategic ignorance, and it is a free will choice. Up to you. This ignorance, which will keep this race, Thubians, stealing human souls, right, for the predators in the Hydra, Draco constellation, different life forms, different species. Your line of DNA may have never been abducted, or you have been abducted and your memory has been wiped of your abduction, or you're just in too much fear of what the mind cannot comprehend. Why? Did you know that the eyes cannot see what the brain cannot comprehend? The conscious mind will not believe what the unconscious mind does not believe. And most people have no clue what's going on in the unconscious. Therefore, they cannot control their own conscious mind. Only Holy Spirit can do that. If you're not in the living Word, the scales will never get removed. And the hive mind takes over. You got two choices, hive mind or Holy Spirit. And yes, Betsy, you choose to walk away from Holy Spirit when you go to hive mind assemblies. Call it sports arenas, call it concerts, call it a shopping mall. Wherever humans are gathering, it's enslavement. If we can group them together, we keep them dumbed down. There's frequencies bombarding you that your eyes don't see. It's coming through music bombarding you. There's messages, there's subliminal messages in crowded areas. And I don't care if you call it church or what's something in a classroom. That you think your little ones, if you don't think they're being bombarded right now by LED light bulbs, by the roofing material, by the building materials that they're in, the sorcery is nonstop. Just because you can't see it or hear it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It does. And just because you don't understand that your little ones are multidimensional, supernatural beings, they are being manipulated and controlled. Keep them in nature. Keep them around trees. You're gonna find out how much value there is in trees here in a minute when I get to that part. But we humans do not take time to understand our biology. We don't understand our psychology, especially. But the predator races, they've had hundreds of thousands of years to study us and know how to totally take us over. hundreds of thousands of years. The predators have studied the humans because at one time it was pure atoms. The humans were pure atoms, and they had no idea how to break through to an atom. We're too powerful. We're source. Sometimes I'll call it atom, sometimes I'll call it source. It's the same thing. Angels were made as a military and they have assignments. Humans, Adam and Eve, that's pure source energy. You cannot manipulate source energy. You can't invade, you can't pervert, you can't rape it, you can't hurt it, you can't change its chemistry. Source energy is constantly regenerating and rejuvenating. It doesn't age. It doesn't get old. It doesn't die. But we humans accept the lie, which is the opposite of what I just said. That's pounded into your unconscious, and your conscious can't get past that. It can't get past the idea of consumerism. You just consume. Remember they live? That was the main word they used. Consume. And the predator species know that about us. They understand how to herd us. Actually, they changed our chemistry so that we have animal DNA in us. That is the herd animals. Animals that stay in a herd, that DNA was inserted into us. And when that happened, we got our souls taken from us. Our line of defense is stop thinking that you're a human. You got to think bigger than that. They have dumbed down the human to nothing but a mere vessel of bad chemistry, of weak bones that degenerate, to a vessel that can catch 1,000 million different diseases. Does that sound like source creation to you? We have to stop thinking like that. We have to put in our unconscious mind this kind of information I'm giving you so that the conscious mind can begin to unravel itself. So the conscious mind can connect and be totally at one, in harmony with the unconscious. We're not letting any built-in AI sentient program, unknown trauma in the unconscious, so that your conscious mind cannot grow and become more and do more than what Jesus did. I hope I'm explaining this in a clear way. Some kind soul out there that's listening to this, let me know. Please text me and let me know if I'm explaining this in a clear way. I've got it in my head. I don't have the gift of gab, so sometimes I don't know how to get it out of my head and heart. It's congruent in my head and my heart, but I don't have a big vocabulary. Right? I didn't do a lot of academia. I spent 10 years studying the eyes. And when I designed this chart, that's because I understand the central nervous system is behind the eyes. And I understand moving the eyes in a circular fashion, forwards and backwards, vertically, forwards and backwards. I understood how that was going to change our electrons, the way that our electrons spin, and the chemistry that we make. We have spiritual chemistry. We have chemistry in our body. The pineal gland is designed for your spiritual progression, your spiritual process, your consciousness, and progression back to the divine flame. We have chemistry. We can do that in a few short years. But we got hived into, for the western part of the world, reading left or right. Once that breaks through into your unconscious, your consciousness begins, it's like a cork coming out of a bottle. It's like, whoo, man, Now I can get a breath of fresh air into my brain, into my mind, into my consciousness. You got to pop the cork, babe. You have to think. You are a non-human intelligence. You are a divine spark of the infinite, one source of consciousness that daily decides to obtain the light of Holy Spirit in you and not walk away from Holy Spirit to the herd hive mind. Decide every hour of every day, I will not do what the herd around me is doing. Humans, so-called, were made in Genesis 1:1. I call that source. We are at that. At a soul level, we are source, one with our Creator. Period. That was Jesus' message wrapped up right there in a nutshell. We're not told where Genesis 1:1 existed. Does it matter? I know it's not here in this dome. Also, because we started Genesis 1:1 happened and then a war in heaven started. So we know we weren't in this dome world because we were made somewhere in Genesis 1:1 that the angels rebelled about. The angels turned away from God towards Satan and said, no, we will not serve that species. That species is superior. Fallen angels believe they're superior, and they said, no, we won't serve that. We will not. And they walked away from the light. You, Betsy, had that decision to make every single day, every hour of every day. So we have to think Genesis 1:1. I know I've said that in a million videos, and I'm going to keep saying it until it strikes a nerve, and it just begins to percolate in your unconscious. You are not what we have no idea what our original creation is. But I can tell you, the human vessel does not look anything like our original creation. And it certainly doesn't function like our original creation. We are all hybrids, right? I don't know. I haven't had the wonder and awe of meeting what was created in Genesis 1:1. I hope to one day, while in this vessel. I hope a Genesis 1:1 creation walks into my third dimension in this little cave. That is my prayer. I am asking for that. I am asking for Genesis 1:1 to come and talk with me. And that's the way you guys need to be thinking. At least let it percolate in the unconscious. Our original seed has been mingled for millions of years. Let's read it again, Daniel 2:43. Daniel 2:43. Many verses are just absolutely etched in my heart, my consciousness at all times. I'm always thinking from this place. Like everything that I do comes from a Bible verse. Everything that motivates me to do any type of content, I wake up and it's Holy Spirit's given me a Bible verse. And those Bible verses are etched in me. Like Daniel 2:43. Let's read it. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. It all started in the garden. The cloning process, the clones. Genesis 1, let us make man after our image. That's a clone. Genesis 2, Adam is made with a soul, but then Eve is cut from his rib. That's a clone. The real Eve is the tree of knowledge. They call it the tree of good and evil. Now I've done that in other videos, so I'm not going to rehash that. If you follow me, you follow me. You already know that. You're past that whole born in sin thing. You're over that lie. All right? You flushed that somehow out of your unconscious. For me, I remember times that I've taken my consciousness into a tree to have a life as a tree that felt truly like home to me. I'm just going to pause right there and say, man, I went to Devil's Tower in Wyoming. That'll change you. That there's a reason. What was that guy's name? Steven Spielberg. There's a reason he used that in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. There's more. Remember when I forget Richard Dreyfuss, I think he's making mashed potatoes into the Devil's Tower, or like he trashed his house to recreate Devil's Tower in his house. That is a primordial conscious memory, and it has to do with trees. Well, I'll get there in a minute. Anyway, but I remember living as a tree, taking my consciousness and living as a tree, living as, for example, Bell Rock. When Bell Rock, here in Sedona, we have a rock formation called Bell Rock. I remember being in Bell Rock when she was at the bottom of the ocean 350 million years ago. And it feels like home. Since in the living word, right, we humans are always called trees and branches and vines. That may be what our original design is. I don't know. I'm just telling you, I figured that out year 2 of making videos and reading the Bible, that every single time a tree, a branch, and a vine is spoken in the Bible, it refers to really the wheat and the tares. Because some trees in the Bible aren't so good. The point is, do not accept what has been taught to the herd on who we are. Decide for yourself who you are, why you are here, and what it is, your mission. I can assure you, no soul comes here as a volunteer to be part of the herd. Only souls from the death reincarnational cycle come here and will be the background people that I've been for years calling PLF, Program Life Form, NPC, non-participating consciousness. They fill in the herds that make up academia or science, medicine, theology, and so on. That requires herds to hive mind, a real volunteer trying to make a difference. We volunteers are conscious, aware beings that would never be in a herd. And our voices, our content, has no audience. I know that, but I'm still going to do it, because one young mother out there will come across this somehow, someday, and they will bring their baby up like this. I volunteer to come into this literally hell on earth for that one baby, that one soul. Social media has become the most destructive herd of hive minds, mostly for mammon. Not to make a difference, just for sponsors and members only. It's never about saving children or stopping predators. While I cannot myself go out and fight predators, I can and will, going forward, talk about predator races of NHI. We all know about reptilians who have not obtained the light by choice. Some reptilians have obtained the light. There are good reptilians. I've been with them. All right, let me go to a star in the Hydra called Thuban. So going forward, species from Thuban, I call them Thubians. For lack of a better word, I made it up. Thubians. I could call them Thubanites. You see, you get my point. It's a made-up word. You're not going to go find that word. Anyway, you will find the Thuban star in the constellation. You can Google that. Anyway, that species arrived to this dome called Earth when it was full of humans made prior, not only prior to the garden, and one with souls, Adam and Eve, and the offspring of Seth, around 100,000 years ago. Actually, it's more than that. I made a typo there. I think it's actually 800,000 years ago. When I was doing my research on the different species of men, I think it starts around 800,000 years ago. And that's not my point. I'm not trying to be accurate with the science, because our science is ridiculous anyways, so I'm just throwing a number out there, okay? I'm not looking for academia acceptance. I'm not looking for a peer review. I'm just telling you the bottom line. So the Thubians and the reptilians are mostly underground in cave systems, but the Thubians are on the surface, and they have little base camps, if you will, all around the dome. Very remote, very hidden. Humans would be very afraid if they saw them. They're an insectoid type of creature. But they studied and studied and studied the atoms, if you will, the source humans. And it wasn't until they got around 30,000 years ago, the atoms, the source, which is now called the Atlanteans, because the continent that they were on was Atlantis. So source atoms just became called and known today as Atlanteans. And the Atlanteans knew about the Thubians, knew about the reptiles, and also knew their strength and their purity, and they could not be invaded. They could not be changed or hived. All right, they knew that. But let me tell you what went wrong. And I remember this to the core of who I am. Let's talk about what went wrong. Instead of them staying in that purity, in the present moment, connected to source, the Thubians studied the Atlanteans, like, what can we do to get in there? How do we invade? And the downfall happened. And it's going to happen again. Nothing new under the sun. Everything goes around. I'm telling you right now, we're at the tipping point. Here's the downfall. What happened to the Atlanteans, who were source, who were atoms. The fight, instead of them staying in a spiritually present, pure place, when the Thubians came at them, they saw the Thubians' anger, and they saw their fear. And they the Atlanteans allowed themselves to get into base lower chakras, first and second chakra, if not a little bit of third. I saw a little bit of third going on, but mostly first chakra. They actually started creating ego. At this point, they didn't have ego. You're not going to hear this from any place else, you guys. This is all new material I'm giving you today. We created ego. Source didn't design us with ego. Ego means edging God out. That's not source creation. It is lower life form creation, lower chakra energies, frequencies, fear and anger. And the Atlanteans saw it and decided to develop it. It's heartbreaking. As I'm telling you this, as I'm reliving, watching that, it's a heartbreak. I mean, it truly, like, my heart, I feel it in my heart right now. Because it's like, don't do that. Don't. I mean, that's the fall. If you want to think of the fall, it was going into the lower chakras. Yes, every chakra needs to be activated and mastered and controlled. But when you allow a chakra that holds a frequency of anger, fear, and you allow that to come out of you, that's not controlling that chakra. That's not controlling that frequency. That frequency exists, and it is a choice that you spiritually, intelligently make. You can choose not to fight through anger and fear. But the Atlanteans, it was a new energy, a new frequency, and some of them liked it. Not all. Luckily, most of the Atlanteans decided to go underground with the Lemurians. When I say underground, that's inner earth. Most of them took the Lemurians and they went into inner earth. But some stood back and fought. And their fight became fear and anger. Now let me just remind you, you cannot fight evil with evil. You must find and protect with safety and protection in your heart. But anger created the ego. I do not believe the Creator gave us an ego. We humans are creators, and we created the ego. And again, in the past, I have called the ego what the Bible talks about in Job about the Leviathan and the behemoth. I mean, yeah, are there huge sea creatures that we don't know about that one day may surface, may wash up on the shore, and we'll call it the Leviathan or the behemoth? I'm sure we will. I'm sure that will happen. But I'm saying at the core level, we humans created an ego that cannot be, that no man can put asunder. I mean, once somebody is in their ego, you can't get them back into their heart. There's no congruency between heart and mind. It's just the pride of the ego, the pride of their academia, the pride of their science, the pride of their medicine, the pride of fill in the blank. That's the Leviathan. And it is a total destroyer on your soul. So today, again, what is left of our original design? I believe that whatever our original design is has been diminished to maybe 1%. But we're so tightly wound in our ego, and it takes you away from the light of source. To stay in the light, away from anger, it requires being in the present moment. The present moment means your thinking is one of you might die, right? Present moment. That means you fight, you're spiritually protected, you're spiritually aware, and you're also accepting, you know what, I'm going to fight the good fight, and it's a good day to die. I've had at least three near-death experiences, minimum. And that was my thinking. I knew to think like that. I was in Hawaii. It was my first time to Hawaii. I had no idea what a riptide was. I had the only time I've been in the ocean is on the coast of California or Florida or wherever. I didn't think about Hawaii being in the middle of the ocean, and the tides are different, and talk about strong. I had no experience with dealing what it's like to be in Hawaii in the middle of the ocean. And it took me by surprise. It was a force. It was a force that you have to surrender to. When a riptide comes and gets you and it's rolling you deeper into the water and back out to sea, you can't fight that. And you have to surrender. And I did. Everything went through my mind in a split second. And I finally surrendered. And I realized I was in this whirlpool, this riptide. I didn't have a name for it at the time. I didn't know what it was. I just knew that I wasn't going to fight it. There was no way I could fight it. This thing was bigger than me. It was nature. And I surrendered. And I literally, my last words, the last thought I had, you know what, it's a good day to die. My goodness, I'm in Hawaii. My first time, it's a good day to die. It's a beautiful day. And I let go. I surrendered and I breathed. And of course I took the water in. So then I feel an arm, which ended up, my husband at the time sent a surfer after me. He got a hold of a surfer's attention. The surfer came and grabbed me, pulled me to the beach, and pumped my chest, pumped water out of me. Like that water just kept coming out of me. Like for 5 minutes, I had water coming out of me. That gives you an idea. You fight without emotions. You fight and you say, it's okay. I'm immortal, I'm eternal, and it's okay if I lose this vessel. You're at home, you're at peace with that. That's not what a percentage of the Atlanteans did. They went the opposite direction. So you can't afford for that to happen to you. You can't let your ego, if you will, get into lower chakras of fear and anger. The predator races knew this about us. And once they came out of hiding, having understand our psyche, they knew they had to get us to fight back with these lower base emotions. So those lower emotions make your soul a tyrant. And as you can see today, those souls in a body who are the tyrants running this dome is evident. They have only gone backwards. It's very difficult once you go backwards to become upright again. I think the Epstein files can make that fact known. Once Atlantis sank, and most of the Adamic race, with it the Thubians, who are master black magicians, took over the crystal pyramid system that was in Atlantis by using antimatter. The few atoms who survived were now weakened psychically and physically, and the Thubians entered their psyche like a parasite, infested the atoms. To this day, the psychic infiltration will collapse us as a society again in this timeline. Hold on, water break. It was the Thubians, along with other species from Hydra, like reptilians, that started mingling the Adamic seed over the last 800,000 years, starting with Neanderthal to Denisovan to Cro-Magnon and eventually Homo sapiens. But the Homo sapiens were designed to be, were not smart enough to use their technology, right? Thubians had machinery here, reptilians had machinery, technology, AI, sentient AI computers. Okay, the Homo sapiens didn't know how to use any of that. But they were obedient and fearful enough to become miners for minerals needed to repair the reptilian home planets, their atmospheres, as well as Thubians' atmosphere. Because of overuse and greed and just the way they're low life form creatures, they have not obtained any light. They destroyed their own atmosphere, their own stars and planets around those star systems. So, and that happened over 12,000 years ago. They started spraying. In other words, Atlantis, before Atlantis sank, so part of that, I guess I would say, sinking process happened because they were doing chemtrails way back then. They were spraying the atmosphere, and whatever they were spraying the atmosphere with, I wasn't told the exact things, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that our skin is how we metabolize the world around us. So when you step outside and you're exposed to whatever's in the atmosphere, it's all metabolized to the skin. All I know is in Atlantis, when they started doing that, whatever that was synthetic. Whatever their skin was exposed to, it was synthetic. And it was to keep atoms dumbed down and obedient. The synthetic entered Adam's genome and altered our DNA structure for the purpose of sending the human race into outer darkness. This synthetic microbe was connected to, again, sentient AI supercomputer in the second heaven. What humans do not understand today is the difference from spiritual over theology. Spiritualism has, in fact, a genomic component that could never be erased. This innate power is still present in everyone that wants to connect to it. It is inside you, but if you do not connect to your spiritual divine spark, God, the kingdom within, the desire instead, the hive mind of the herd will be what you connect to. It's one or the other. Team Jesus, Team Paul, Team Source, Team Hive Mind. It boils down to being that simple. The AI computer code that is tied to the human psyche, brain, and heart gives you what you're feeling, your emotions, your thinking. It's known as voice-to-skull technology. You think that your thoughts are coming from you, that your feelings are coming from you. It is not. It is coming from a Thubian AI installed since the fall of Atlantis. What you're thinking and feeling is a computer generated. It's why the hearts are only evil continually. The source did not implode himself into a billion souls that only have foolish hearts, as Jeremiah 17:9 says. Let's read it. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? What about what Jesus said about the heart? Jesus had this to say, Matthew 15:19. For out of the heart proceed evil thoughts, murderers, adulterers, fornications, theft, false witness, blasphemies. That's not source. Listen, that's a hostile alien takeover on our human hearts by AI over 12,000 years ago. The psyche, AI, we are hurted by can cause every emotion, every form of pain, to ecstasy, mania, paranoid, delusional hallucinations. Your brain literally has an IP address. And that IP address is connecting to the Hydra. Whether it's Thubians, reptilians, or other species, predator species in the Hydra constellation. All of our thought and images come to us like today's computers in zeros and ones, which has an attached emotional response to it as well. This then has become the biological spiritual computer network known today as the collective unconscious, the hive mind, the bees in a trap. It's how puzzles, if you go on Instagram, it's the only social media I now and then go on for fun things like this. Just put in Instagram or whatever your social media is, the horse walking backwards. Now, the voice on that video will tell you 98% of the people can only see the horse walking forward. 2% of the population see the horse walking backward. I'm in that 2%. To me, I cannot force that horse to walk forward. I can only see that horse walking backward. Famous psychologist Carl Jung figured this out and gave that computer character names. He called them archetypes. Literally, the atom stopped being atom 12,000 years ago with the fall of Atlantis. At least here in this dome, I'm just talking about this dome. There's a trillion little dome worlds out there, so let's just keep it in the lane, right? Not going outside of the lane here. All right, so the fall of Atlantis, that's when the hive mind of war shipping began. When you're in those assemblies in the hive mind, you're not war shipping God. You're war shipping Draco, the Thubians. This race also figured out how to keep us enslaved while being on their home planet by affecting the spin of our electrons, which then began to pollute our souls, our original design. The electrons are designed originally to spin clockwise. Since Atlantis, they now spin counterclockwise. This too is our fall. No longer an atom. Adam was made to have a companion, not just Eve, but trees. trees of knowledge. The trees in this dome were our enlightenment. They kept us one with Source. They created a state of bliss. They gave us all wisdom and knowledge. They provided all we needed for our eternal happiness and connection to Source. The trees in this dome grew to be 500 feet tall, and their trunks were a quarter mile around. And they produced such a rich supply of oxygen that does not exist in this dome today. Remember the movie Avatar, and they had to bulldoze that tree of life down? That's what they did to us. Everything you see in movies is rooted in truth. Right? The reptilians and the Thubians don't like oxygen. They don't thrive in rich oxygenated environments. So they got rid of all of our trees. About the only example left today is found, there's a couple examples. I spend about maybe 10 minutes on Google looking for, are there artifacts like Devil's Tower? They're around. There are some in South America. There's some in Japan. They're around South Africa apparently. But you will get remnants. I guess they just call them, I don't know what Devil's Tower is considered. I didn't look at that part. If they think it's a rock, I think they think it's a rock. It's a rock formation, I think is what they call it. Just stand at that thing. You know it's an ancient, gigantic tree. You get a feeling you're in the Garden of Eden when you're standing at the base of Devil's Tower. I spent a week at the base of Devil's Tower. I camped there. That spiritual energy can't be, I can't even, one of these days I'll make a video and I'll just channel Devil's Tower. Because I don't know why and again, they give it this evil name, Devil's Tower. It's a tree of knowledge. Once you understand, they took all of our oxygen from us. Today, what we're left with, what humans need in order to, we need these trees that live to be thousands of years old, that radiated a vibration that created, again, enlightenment for the humans. These trees were cut down. Heavy machinery come in here in this dome world and cut down all of our trees. And it left us with not only too little oxygen for our original design, but a high amount of carbon dioxide that the reptiles like. That high amount of carbon dioxide creates rapid aging, creates bone density loss that I have today, creates, what do they call it, dementia, Alzheimer's, memory loss. We're breathing in too much carbon dioxide. Just pause right here and go watch the video by Soundgarden called Black Hole Sun. If you want the truth about the no oxygen, too much carbon dioxide, that video is pure truth. Read the lyrics. Make sure the lyrics are on the screen. Read the Fallen Angel lyrics of what that's telling you. I think I've talked about that on another video, but anyways, moving on. This high amount of carbon dioxide, it leaves us paranoid. It creates schizophrenia, hallucinations, and an entire menu of mental illnesses across the spectrum. Then they started raping and perverting all of our plant life, changing all plants that we ate, especially today, in every single lettuce that you can buy in the store. All lettuces today greatly harm, rape our not only DNA but our RNA. The more lettuce you eat, the sicker you get. Then, to really ensure that we are slaves to them for our fear and anger, they mixed into our seed, again, animal seeds that are part of a herd mentality. Isn't that what sheep are? Aren't they herd mentality? Not only did they start the process of devolution with our DNA to, I guess I want to say, surrender and happily be part of a herd. This combination is in our electrons, and it causes the soul to become confused and easy to lose or get eaten by these predators, Thubians. Our chemistry today is utterly alien to our natural design. We are literally no longer human. Internally, chemically, we're not human. The first step they did was to literally blow up and increase the size of the amygdala. Now, I don't know if our original design has an amygdala. I don't know why we would need that. So they either gave us an amygdala or they blew our amygdala up to be 10 times the size. Why? Fear, trauma, anxiety would be our go-to emotion. Just pause and think about that. That was actually a genius move on us Adams, was it not? I do not believe, again, that we even probably had an amygdala. The things that I was told that they did is I haven't gotten to the best part yet. Just hold on, we'll get there. Our Creator made humans a superior species, and we have lost all knowledge of who we are, so we cannot raise our babies to be who they truly are. Our original design, I was told, had 98 chromosomes in each cell. 98 chromosomes in each cell today. Today, right now, you and me, Betsy, we have 46. And the necessary material, that means over half. We've lost over half of who we are. The necessary material was deleted out of the 46 remaining chromosomes. Just one example, I'm not going to go through all of the chemistry that I was given, but I'm going to give you a couple of, you can go look this up yourself. One is called, in our chromosomes, P35. That P35 has reduced our ability to intellectually understand. One of the worst chemicals they inserted into our DNA came from a moon around Saturn. Now, today, you can look this up. Humans make a chemical called MAO. MAO is short for monoamine oxidase. Monoamine oxidase, MAO. MAO is a good thing if your electrons are spinning clockwise. MAO becomes poison when your electrons are not spinning in the right direction. So electrons spinning in the right direction, so we have the opposite of MAO. The opposite of MAO obliterates serotonin and DMT. That's our spiritual chemistry. That's how we spiritually progress. That's why people take drugs to create the DMT experience, psychedelics, so they can become their multidimensional self. So MAO destroys your own spiritual chemistry. And it gives you the opposite. What's the opposite? Depression, anger. It makes the central nervous system hypersensitive in our autism. It also keeps constantly engaged, activating and keeping engaged, flight or fight. And then we need caffeine to keep feeding that fight or flight. When you're in fight or flight, your immune system is suppressed. You don't metabolize. Your digestion shuts down, and so on. There is a war zone chemically going on inside of your body, and you've normalized it. Everybody has normalized it. Well, we had to survive, did we not? We had to. When the production of MAO is deficient, adrenaline and noradrenaline do not get metabolized, which creates mental illness. Again, schizophrenia, paranoia. Those conditions will twist the soul. In addition, It's MAO that transmutes DMT into our chemistry so that we are no longer multidimensional beings, as is our true design. Instead, humans have been altered. All of this process makes humans want to become a predator. Is that not what the dominant source of social media is used for? Adults looking for children to prey on? I'll leave it at that. One example, this is the one that really got to me because I Googled it. You guys can Google this. And you'll see it's in humans and reptiles. Just Google it. One example is given. There is a gene inside humans and reptiles called TBX5. TBX5 gene was only in the reptile family until it was introduced into us. It belongs to the reptile family, and what it does is creates the 4-chamber heart found in alligators and now in humans. It's why we see so many times in the Old Testament about our predator heart. Just to summarize, let's go with what Jesus said in Matthew 15:19. For out of the heart proceed evil thoughts, murders, adulteries, fornications, theft, false witness, blasphemies. Why would Jesus say that about an Adam? He would not. If it were an Adam, he wouldn't say that, would he? Jesus is an Adam. But none of that would come out of his heart, would it? Do you think Jesus, that any of that evil thought, murder, adulteries, fornication, theft, false witness, do you think any of that could come out of the heart of Jesus? Then why do you think it could come out of our heart? We're the same as Jesus. Theology has destroyed our perception, the way we think. Jesus is telling you, you've been hijacked. You've been modified. You have been raped and perverted. You think you're human. I hope I'm making that super clear. Again, sorry, Betsy, I don't have the gift of gab, and I'm not going to pray for the gift of gab. I'm sticking as close to the Bible as I can get here with taking the supernatural world and making it not only a biblical understanding, but teaching you how to fight it. At least teach your babies how to fight it. Inform them of the real world, because the veil is coming down. That's going away. Jesus is telling you here in Matthew 15:19, this is a problem. There is a predator in your heart. And that gene is called TBX5. Do you think our Creator would put a gene from a reptile into us Adams? Would he do that? That gene is directly connected and part of what made the sentient AI computer in the second heaven. And it has hijacked, it has caused arrested development. You are under attack. Wake the F up. Why do we not question everything Jesus says? In other words, why would Jesus say that? What is he? What's the secret hidden message here? What are we not understanding? What are we not getting? Jesus doesn't think Adams are like that. He's telling you, you're not like that. Wake up. Hello? You got to figure this out. You're spiritually responsible to gather this intelligence. I'm giving you hints. I'm giving you clues. You take what I said and you go investigate. You round up the intelligence. After that is, you get your heart congruent with your mind and get the scales off of your eyes. He's telling you there's a big problem with being human. And he's human. read the red letters with that in mind. Go back and read the red letters with this as your cornerstone. It will change everything. You want to unravel the unconscious mind so your conscious mind can begin to comprehend the supernatural, multidimensional existence that you are like walking through like a zombie. I can't think of anything better than that one, but I'm going to throw a few more at you. Let's read carefully now the way Mark heard this, the way Mark wrote it down. Let's now read what Mark has to say about Jesus' teaching here with a congruent heart and mind. And let's see if some scales fall off, okay? Let's do it. Let's go Mark 7, 21 to 23, because he expands. He expands greatly on the teachings of Jesus here. Mark 7, 21, from within, out of the heart of men, proceed evil thoughts, adulteries, fornications, murders, thefts, covetousness, wickedness, deceit, lasciviousness, an evil eye, blasphemy, pride, foolishness. All these evil things come from within and defile the man. Wow. Okay. Well, what else does Jesus have to say? And ask yourself, did Source create this? Or have we been hijacked? And we're choosing strategically ignorant to this fact. Why does Jesus kind of repeat the message in Matthew 9:4? And Jesus, knowing their thoughts, said, wherefore think ye evil in your heart? He's driving the message home. You need to do a concordance study on heart if you're going to drive this message home, right, on a Sabbath. You're going to spend the Sabbath with your family and drive home about the heart. Go to the concordance and go through every verse with heart. Heart and plural, hearts. Now that's a worthy Sabbath. That's time well spent. Have a little Q&A with your kids. Why is this? What's going on here? This gene, right? This TBX5, this gene has utterly annihilated the heart chakra, making congruency between heart and head nearly impossible. It's why we have herds following reptilian theology of lies. The reptile gene in human creates zero empathy and even makes us sadistic. It's unnatural. Not to mention, again, our Creator would not put a seed of a reptile in humans. In case you don't believe any of this, how did it get in us? If you don't believe about the Thubians and what I'm telling you about predator races from Hydra, how did it get in us? The picture I was given, again, telepathic. When you're using telepathy, it's a visual, it's hearing. The visual I was giving on how this gene expresses itself through our energy field, our auric field. It's like they showed me this really ugly, like gray octopus who reaches out from its heart, like its heart's in the center, and then it just has tentacles. And it reaches from its evil heart, and all of its tentacles, full of what we just read in Mark 7, all of its tentacles reach out to all of the humans around us. We're all like in this network, this tentacle network, spreading our evil, vile nature, our thoughts and feelings of wanting to be a predator, of not wanting to do what Matthew 25 tells us to do, to go the opposite direction of Matthew 25. Those tentacles are reaching, especially when you're in an assembly. Next time you're in an assembly, I just want you to envision there is a gigantic gray octopus in the air over you, And every single one of you are thriving and moving to those tentacle slime, if you will. You're being slimed. And that is an evil slime. And it will twist and pervert your soul. And your soul will go backwards. And it's really difficult to get that back upright again. I don't leave my cave. So I'm not, part of anybody's tentacles. I will protect my soul at any cost of being human. I am not of this world. I'm not looking to be in and of this world whatsoever for a second. So, also an explanation of mass depopulation, and that's what it is. There is the coming mass depopulation as the intro into every human an enzyme. Now we've had the proteins I've talked on, we've had genes I've talked on. Now we come to an enzyme. This enzyme is called DYRK1A. So DYRK, I call that dark 1A. Dark 1A, which allows for viruses easy access, easy entry. Call it COVID, call it SARS, call it Corona, call it cancer, diabetes. Throughout history, they've been given all kinds of names. The Black Plague, bubonic plague, blah, blah, blah. You get what I'm going at, right? 87% of all humans have the monkey gene known as Rh+, while 13% do not, which again negates the evolution theory, right? That falls out. Can't go with that any longer because 13%, to this day, no one knows how Rh negative blood got in us. Where does it come from? Also, little tidbit, Rh negative blood cannot be cloned. So this group of people were designed to be kind of like they run the plantation of slaves, right? They're the slave owners. They're still a slave. They just run a plantation of slaves. The Rh negative people, they were designed to be merciless, beating their slaves into submission, while at the same time, so they have no empathy for their slaves, no friendliness, no compassion, nothing like that. They are without mercy on their slaves. However, that Rh negative makes them submissive and obedient and even faithful to their creators, the reptilians and Thubians. To name a few. I'll be naming other races. I'm just got to stick with the Hydra right now. There's more. There's more coming on this. But right now I'm just dealing with Hydra. So everything I'm saying, humans are programmed not to believe. They only follow herd talking heads. We have so many herd followers due to the fact they do not have a soul. They have only ego. And the ego, again, edging God out, is what fuels them. It's the ego that creates beliefs, traditions, cultures, values. And those beliefs never change, as what has never changed in theology for the last 2,000 years. They will never change. Their beliefs are pounded into them on a weekly type basis from their cattle drivers. They believe what their cattle driver tells them to believe. Their ego is also connected to super AI in the astral realm, also known as the second heaven. It disconnects the spiritual heart. The AI supercomputer literally knows all the frequencies of the soul and blends them in a way that takes the seat of the soul and inserts ego, which will give a body life and the illusion of love. Not unconditional, but it feels like it. I've been in a craft of unconditional love. That's not a human concept. Until somebody puts you in a craft, as they did with me, of unconditional love, no human can experience unconditional love. It doesn't exist in the stone world. It's not something I have a vocabulary for. Most of my experiences I don't have a vocabulary for, because it's supernatural. It's out of this world. How are you going to assign a vocabulary to experiences like that I've had? I don't know how to do it. I'm just not that smart, Betsy. The frequencies coming out of AI through the ego will make the person feel like they have a soul. And this thought is what makes the body breathe and live. There are humans among us today like this. They have an ego, they don't have a soul, and the ego is connected to AI. And that is becoming sentient right now. Now, they know this about themselves. They have a secret club. And in their secret club, they call themselves the originals. Because they have all of the original memories of life on Earth, all of the experiments, the personality traits. They continually deceive our science, well, and their own family members, that for that fact. Water break. They follow herd. They make charts. They create statistics over feelings, over intuition. Once you have an understanding, spend some time studying the 22 codes of light, the Aramaic letters that make up the Hebrew alphabet. Once you understand to the degree on which I studied, you'll be able to recognize letters in their names because you understand the codes of light. You'll be able to recognize these people. There's letters in their names that pointed out. I'm not going to get into that because that's dangerous information. And people who haven't taken the time and the safety of studying the codes of light can use that as a weapon. So I'm not going to reveal any more than that. But the originals, they have no interest in self-realization or any spiritual practice, let alone progress. They do, however, enjoy herd assemblies by all of their names. Why? The AI keeps them all connected to the hive for their survival. There is safety in numbers, and AI can turn them into zombies in order to eat a soul of a real human. At least, that is what AI is telling them. For the sake of prayer, also know that humans that have a soul, many clones are made of you, and those clones are made, I think I already said this, I can't remember actually now. I'm over an hour and a half, so I'm really going overboard. Sorry about that. There's a lot of information in this, but anyways, so many clones are made, humans who have a soul. You have 1 million clones made without genitals. Okay, what was that going to do? I already talked about it makes alien gray. But also what it does to you as a soul, it hampers evolution and it creates devolution in humans, which is how, again, the race of grays were made. So, and I think I already told you, go to the throne room and make sure, at least for your babies, that you include like everything you can think of, every dimension, galaxy, universe, star, planet, so on. While all of our bodies are high risk for me, I just know my soul and my spirit is not human. I know who I am outside of this dome, and nothing humans do is of interest to me. I do not leave my cave. I am thrilled to stay in my cave. There is nothing in this dome that is interesting, especially not being among a herd. Back to Thuban. Let's talk a little bit on this. I might just skip this part. I went through the whole science. I went through some computer software, and I went through the whole science of the movement of Thuban. I'm just going to skip over, in Atlantis, Thuban was a North Star, or I should say a star used for navigation. Let's put it that way. Maybe not direct north. Thuban is a star used heavily for the last thousands and thousands and thousands of years for navigation. Thuban, according to the software I went to, Thuban will be the North Star in this dome. Polaris today is the North Star. Thuban will be the North Star in this dome in 20,346 AD. So humans have been interfered with for at least 1 million years by the Draco race, Hydra species. We have devolved and today have reached a place in which we are programmed to only protect the lies that we call history, science, and the entirety of our reality. The biggest flaw humans have is belief systems. Believing in what they were told. Believing is a weakness that humans cannot accept, for all that matters is truth. And real truth is actually direct experience, like I had with Archangel Michael, and 3 days later when Jesus was in this cave putting his hand on my shoulder. That's a direct experience. That's not hearsay. Hearsay is what creates belief systems. Jesus knew when he touched my shoulder that would make me a truth seeker, and that I would expose the lies he was unable to expose on theology and karma. Well, Jesus did expose it. Let's say it didn't stick. It didn't take. Jesus did expose the lies today on theology. But people today are connected to the hive mind and herd assemblies over the red letters of Jesus. They prefer the hive. They don't want to hear and follow Jesus. All humans are one of two people. One is a believer, and the other is a free thinker. Believers are under Draco control. That's the 99%. Us 1%, you and me, Betsy, we are free thinkers. That is to say, we seek truth. We do not conform. We do not comply. We are not political. We are not religious cult followers. We do not have a country or a leader. It is not needed. We're not part of the herd. We can see through the lies. The 1% are souls who do not come from a yellow star giant. Let me explain what that means. That's something you've never heard before. To me, it's like I've known this for a while. Souls come here from different stars. Our current star that lights this world, called the sun, that's a yellow star, right? Souls that come from a yellow star are herd mentality. The yellow star does not promote spiritual process or spiritual practice or spiritual progression. It is souls that are not yet ready to mature. And if you're out seeking the sun all the time, that absolutely will ensure that you will make no spiritual progress. I know that sounds like heresy. I get it. But you are not of this world, Betsy. You got caught. You got trapped. You volunteered at some point and lost your way. And then you were modified. There are other souls. I know what star system I originated from. I know what star system I came to this dome from. So, if you want best to align for your soul's progression, that is the orange and red giant stars. That is where I originated from, as far as breaking off and doing independent incarnations as source with other life forms. So the red star, that's my home star that I spend time in, is Arcturus. That is a red giant star. Now there's blue stars, known as the Pleiades. And the blue stars are souls, like babies, full of potential not yet reached. They're innocent souls. They haven't been stolen. They're innocent, new baby souls. And they connect with blue stars. Now, the star that I came from, this dome, I came from a star, not Arcturus, but with Arcturians. Part of the NHI I came in here with, but I came here from a white star. And the white star are adult souls that are strong. But more importantly, they're difficult to control. They do not comply. They do not follow a herd. And souls that come here from a white star is recognized and given a reptilian handler. I finally got that question answered. Why the heck did I ever? Okay, because it came from a white star. So that white star that I came from, I now know about and understand, that is a white dwarf star of Procyon b in Canis Minor. In my new mission, I'm no longer talking as a human, for I am talking as a soul, not human, not from a yellow star system, but from the red star of Arcturus, currently volunteered to come here for the humans who have a sliver of a soul, to that is to say, a clone of a human with potential. Sad but true. I am here for the 99% to try and save a baby, an attempt before ego and belief systems set in and solidify. Humans will not become enlightened just by envisioning the light of stars, but rather by facing the darkness of ego. You must destroy the idea of identifying with the physical vessel, that is to say, being human. Then you will obtain freedom and eternal life. Jesus said it like this, Matthew 19:21. Jesus said unto him, If thou wilt be perfect, go and sell that thou hast, and give to the poor, and thou shalt have treasure in heaven, and come and follow me. Back to Thuban. The people of this star race is called Thubians, and the rest of the star people call them the children of the nebula, which means children of darkness, the name of this video. Not only children of darkness, but children of ignorance. They're talked about throughout the Old Testament, especially in Psalms and Proverbs. King David knew them well. They are a powerful, sadistic race that only knows violence and blood rituals, and they have extraordinary psychic abilities. They are connected to the grid we call dark matter. This is a parasite that Isaiah calls the fine network of flax, Isaiah 19:9. Moreover, they that work in fine flax and they that weave networks shall be confounded. The 99% accept this network of flax, known to them as slavery, we call belief systems, cultures, and traditions. It's all slavery and a loss of free will. With that, the 99 just accept that this is a deep hypnotic state that has become known as humans, and it was going on in the days of Isaiah. It started in Atlantis when the North Star was also Thuban. It's a cycle of darkness. It's a loss of free will and a hypnosis on humans. Because the divine spark is only in humans, the actual source in a vessel, the hypnosis separate the fire of source in a vessel to get the vessel to say, I accept, to a plethora of beliefs like science, medicine, theology, traditions, whatever. Just believe a lie without question is tradition, like the Fiddler on the Roof tells you. It's an unspoken contract offered to you by an invisible entity, a screen image that is the actual truth, because Jesus told you that your eyes are unable to see and your ears are unable to hear. So you signed away your soul with your beliefs. God is in your heart, and humans are in their heads with beliefs to slavery. Heart and head never congruent, let alone coherent. I'm here on a mission of understanding the variety of spiritual warfare. The 99 think it's just demons, and it is not just demons. Let's know this. Demons have an appetite. Now really hear me, Betsy. The most important thing I'm going to tell you right now is the difference between a Thubian and a demon. Demons have an appetite, like humans. Why? Well, they were once human. Even though they were half Nephilim, or that is to say half human, half watcher angel, they can procreate like a human with a human. So a demon has a human appetite, whether it's food, drugs, alcohol, idolatry, sex, music, and so on. This is different from a Thubian. Thubians, the children of darkness, the dark and ignorant predator species, a species full of blood and violence, they don't have an appetite. Okay, they seek to destroy your soul. They steal and violate souls. They hypnotize souls. They eat souls. And if you do not know them by name and you lump them with the demons, they can continue their work unharmed, because theology workers allow them to do so. So they do not have to answer to Jesus. They are children of the dark. They choose to step away from the light. Demons have to answer. Thubians do not. You got to pray against this. All right, let's look at the way Jesus made this clear to us. What did Jesus tell his disciples when he pointed out there is a different group that will enter? There's nothing more important than this right now, Betsy. Today, June 20th, I think, 2026, is Matthew 12:43-45. It's on the Thubians. It's on Draco. It's on Hydra. They operate differently than demons. Matthew 12:43-45. When the unclean spirit is gone out of a man, he walked through dry places seeking rest and finds none. Then he says, I will return into my house from where I came out. And when he is come, he find it empty, swept, and garnished. Then goeth he and take with himself 7 other spirits, more wicked than himself. And they enter in and dwell there. And the last state of man is worse than the first. Even so shall it be also unto this wicked generation. The wicked generation are Thubians, reptilians. So here we are told 7 other spirits more wicked than demons. A wicked generation. I'm telling you, disclosure will happen, but not on the Thubians. It will be on the gray and the engineers, the tall grays, the Nordics, the Pleiadians, the tall whites, but never will the Thubians be exposed. They control the narrative. They are the sons of this world over the children of light. Let's read it, Luke 16, verse 8. And the Lord commended the unjust doer because he has done wisely. For the children of this world are in their generation wiser than the children of light. Did you understand what I just said? Because your genes have been modified to not intellectually understand what's being said here in Luke 16:8. So spend a Sabbath on it. Spend some time. Give it an hour. Take that in. The children of this world. This world is inhabited by reptilians, Thubians, and other predator races from Hydra. Just because you can't see them or understand them or hear them does not mean they don't exist. You're only seeing in the 3rd dimension. That's why Jesus told us this stuff. He wants you to stop and think for yourself. Why? You are spiritually responsible for your spiritual progression. And you don't get spiritual progression from theology or doctrines of men, period. You listen to what Jesus is saying and say, why did he say that? What's he telling me? What's he asking me to think about? What is he asking for my heart and mind to become congruent on? I mean, this is terrible what he's telling me, is it not? Well, he's telling it to me for my protection, like you tell your babies, don't play with fire. But the babies don't understand what fire is going to do. Eventually, that human is going to play with fire. And they're going to figure it out to their detriment or weaponize it, whatever. That's how we have to think when you're in the red letters. That's how I think when I'm in the red letters. That is the world we humans live in, and the children of light is unknown to us. We do not accept we are children of light. We think we are born in sin, waiting to be a bride of light, even though Jesus told you differently again in John 8:12. Then spake Jesus again unto them, saying, I am the light of the world, and he that follow me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. You can read the same message in John 1:9, 1 John 2:8, John 12:46, John 1:4, Matthew 6:23, if you want to do a little Bible study on a Sabbath with your family. I am given wisdom because I follow Jesus and not theology. Theology is run by Thubians, hypnotic trance with their music, extremely low frequencies on souls of the light. You guys know me, I'm always going to go to Job, right? Let's read Job 10:22. Job 10:22 is telling us we are a land without order, full of darkness, right? Job 10:22, a land of darkness, as darkness itself, and of the shadow of death, without any order, and where the light is as darkness. The light is as darkness. Job is telling you about you. Betsy, your light is as darkness because we don't know to fight it. We don't know to pray about it. We don't know what to take in front of the throne. How about Job 18? Let's go through verses 14 and 18. Job 18, 14 to 18. His confidence shall be rooted out of his tabernacle, and it shall bring him to the king of terrors. It shall dwell in his tabernacle, because it is none of his. Brimstone shall be scattered upon his habitation. His roots shall be dried up beneath, and above shall his branch be cut off. His remembrance shall perish from the earth, and he shall have no name in the street. He shall be driven from light into darkness, and chased out of the world. Again, another good Bible study, Job 18 on a Sabbath. I'm just throwing you crumbs. Take it or not. Disclosure will be as distraction. They will call it fallen angels. They will call it demons. And yes, that's true, but it's not the full story. And the hypnosis will continue. The children of darkness will win. They are written about throughout the Old Testament and New Testament. They are, after all, 7 times more powerful than demons, as we already read in Matthew 12. In case you're having a hard time believing races that come from the stars are evil, let's read Job 25:5. Behold, even to the moon, and it shineth not, yea, the stars are not pure in his sight. So in case everything you think I'm saying is pure nonsense, then ask Job, what? The stars are not pure in his sight? He made them. He made them. And they're not pure in his sight? Why? Because a predator species takes it over. Like they have taken over this dome. Species have free will. They can roam the galaxies, the universe, the planets, the stars, the dimensions, inner, outer earth. They have free will to come and go and do what they want. Job 1 opens up with that. Satan and his fallen angels are going up to third heaven, communing with God. They're about to take over Job's life and make him miserable. And God says, go for it. All right. That's you and me, we're Job. All right, let me start with step 1. How the hypnosis on the 99 starts and how to activate your pineal gland to overcome the trance you're under. All humans are taught to read in only one direction. The Western world, again, I started with that video. Right here it is again. Screenshot it. Learn how to read it. Right? Just screenshot that and learn how to read it. So, when you start reading like that, what I just showed you, it stimulates the pineal gland. It actually deactivates it activates your frozen pineal gland. Right now, you're not releasing the chemicals in the body that accelerate your spiritual progressions, and spiritual growth is a chemical process, not a learning in a classroom or a conference, not by reading in one direction only. 3 years ago, Holy Spirit told me to start reading the Bible backwards, and I did. That is how in one day I could see Saul the Butcher was a self-appointed hypocrite, because I was reading the Bible backwards in the way it was written, right to left. My brain chemistry was changing. New networks were being formed. I was activating a network by me, not a parasite, of which all humans in this dome has. And not a common parasite, a sentient AI from the stars parasite to feed on your soul. Like the Thubians do, they need your soul to extend their life force, so they keep you in a trance, as in all your life, reading everything from left to right or whatever your culture reads. but it's in one direction. You have never heard this and never will from anyone else due to this AI parasitical takeover hijacking your soul from gaining wisdom. Your pineal gland is a pine cone shape, which is a spiral, which means your chemistry produced from the pineal gland, which is triggered only by your eyes, must read in a spiral, as well as all of your central nervous system is connected to the back of your eye, and only your eyes can wake up the pineal gland, the master of the endocrine system, and create the chemicals needed to activate your third eye and upper chakras. When you're reading the same way all of your life, left to right, as in the West, that only stimulates, or I should say overly stimulates, the first and second chakra, which is fear, sex, and greed. And the need to be admired, which is all of social media today. Taking selfies is a second chakra, out of control freight train on your soul. Thubians have mastered these chakras of ignorance and control, the 99 who come here from a yellow star and embrace a yellow star controlling this realm we call the sun, which is rapidly changing as we near the pole shift. So attention all parents, let's stop the madness. And yes, teach your babies how to read left to right. But once they got that down, now read right to left. Then vertical forward, vertical backwards. Again, I call it spiral reading. Now you will have Jesus in your home. It starts by no more indoctrination the children of darkness has installed on this dome. The only way to reach peace is when all desires dissipate within the mind. He who has desires, as in with material objects, is never at peace. Once you attain the mind of no longer needing material objects, you will be no longer deluded and become one with the absolute human celestial controllers will give you desired objects even without asking for them. A self-realized person knows this and never depends on anyone. We do our duty from the lens of guiding and helping people with faith and sincerity and not controlling the mind. The mind overrides intellect always. The fire of self-knowledge reduces all bonds of karma. The truth has never been hidden. It's our perception that is controlled. We have been blinded as a people. As Jesus tells you, eyes that cannot see. Our perception has been hijacked, and we are told we are seeing. We are told what we are seeing. We are under extreme psychosis, and we do not question the narrative. So I think I'm just going to end there. What I just said is really summarized well. There's a movie called Groundhog Day. And in that movie, Bill Murray is in the scene, is in the diner with the girl he's after. I can't remember her name. But he says to her, he tells her the truth. He says, I am a God, not the God, a God who cannot die. I've been stabbed, I've been electrocuted, I've been frozen, I've been run down. He goes through all of these deaths that he has. And he says, I simply cannot die. For those of you who think we're still waiting for Revelation to unfold, but all of Revelation has unfolded, except, as I said in my last video, you yourself are responsible for Revelation 21 and 22. The only thing that really exists in Revelation today is found in Revelation 9:6. Let's read it. Revelation 9:6. And in those days shall men seek death and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. That's the fallen angels. And they're getting more and more known. Just like you can do a comparison. I know for myself, Bill Murray, came in my timeline called Bill Murray, but before my timeline, he was known as Edgar Allan Poe. Right? I know that Jonathan Rumi, who played Jesus in The Chosen, is actually the lead singer of Soundgarden. When I told you earlier, go look up the truth of the fallen angels and the lyrics of Black Hole Sun. While we do not know what Saul looks like, he's around today. I now, in my heart, know that Saul is a fallen angel. Of course he's a fallen angel. Saul the Butcher. Is that not an appropriate name for a fallen angel? And he turns all of these lies. But he has to admit, fallen angels have spiritual laws. They have to admit the truth. So Paul tells you how much of a liar he is. He tells you in 1 Corinthians 9, 20 to 22. He tells you about shape-shifting, how he's all things to all people. When he comes to the Jew, he's a Jew. When he comes to what do you call the non-Jew? A non-Jew. I forget what they call them. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't think of it. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. He shape-shifts into who he needs to be in the company he is within. So fallen angels are securely attached to their queen bee, Satan. And who follows them? The children of darkness. Anita K. Owens Potter out.